From WHYY in Philadelphia, this is Fresh Air. I'm Dave Davies. Today, actor Timothy Olyphant. He's played a rock band's road manager, the husband of a flesh-eating zombie, and a sexy drug dealer in the cult classic Go. But he's best known for portraying two lawmen in cowboy hats, Sheriff Seth Bullock in the HBO series Deadwood, and modern-day Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens, chasing colorful criminals in Kentucky in the FX series Justified. That franchise has been revived in a new series set in Detroit, with the marshal investigating a clever sociopathic killer and getting a little too close to the killer's lawyer. It's called Justified City Primeval. Timothy Olyphant on today's Fresh Air. This is Fresh Air. I'm Dave Davies. Our guest, actor Timothy Olyphant, has performed in dozens of roles in film, television, and theater. He's best known for playing two iconic lawmen, Sheriff Seth Bullock in the HBO series Deadwood and a subsequent film, and Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in the FX series Justified, which earned Olyphant a Primetime Emmy nomination. Among his many other roles, he starred with Drew Barrymore as the husband of a realtor-slash-man-eating zombie in the Netflix comedy series Santa Clarita Diet. Trust me, it is funny. And he played the tour manager of a rock band in the Amazon Prime series Daisy Jones and the Six. In Justified, Olyphant's character, Deputy Marshal Raylan Givens, was reassigned to his native eastern Kentucky, where he chased a bunch of colorful criminals for 6 seasons, some of whom he'd known since childhood. That series ended in 2015, but it has been revived in the new FX series Justified City Primeval, which, like the original, is based on the writings of Elmore Leonard. In the new series, Givens, now in late middle age, finds himself in Detroit, dueling with a sociopathic criminal in a distinctly urban setting, with his 15-year-old daughter in the picture. I should note that our interview was recorded before the actors' strike began. Timothy Olyphant, welcome back to Fresh Air. Good to have you.
Thank you, Dave. It's good to be here. I feel like I got a little taste of what an obituary might sound like for me when you first started. And I was like, is this what it's going to be like?
Yeah. Well, you'll never know, I think. It will hopefully be
That's
longer
what they say.
And richer.
That's what they say. The other thing I heard there, which is the self-involved neurotic actor, I was like, did he just say late middle age? I was like, why? What's with the adjective late middle age?
Yeah, I think it's 50s.
Like, isn't middle age enough?
Yeah, well, the character's in his 50s, right? Yeah, whatever. Okay.
That's right. The character is. Right. I don't know how they got. I'm still 35, but they aged me up for the role, so it's all good.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're hanging in there in your 30s. I have to tell you, Justified, the original series, which ran 6 seasons, is one of my favorite TV experiences ever. I look forward to watching all of those seasons again. You chasing all these colorful, complex criminals in the hollers of Harlan County. Was that a really special experience to you, too?
Well, first, thank you. I appreciate you saying so. We had a ball making the show. It's just one of those jobs. It was rarely a day you left the set where you didn't think, well, that was cool. It was just always cool.
Now, I see that you are an executive producer in the revival of the series, which is set in Detroit. I know that you had a part in Quentin Tarantino's movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I read that a conversation with him somehow moved this idea forward or planted the seed.
Put some wind in our sails. Certainly put some wind in our sails. The writers and I, we've always been in touch since we wrapped the original show, and we've always talked about, what do you think? Is the time right? Do we want to take another swing at this thing? And if so, who's got an idea? And everyone's busy. Everyone, the thing going against it, it's like any kind of reunion, in life. It's just everyone's life is getting in the way. So getting us all together and coming up with the seed of an idea was probably really the trickiest part. And I had an idea that maybe we could just go back to Elmore, grab one of we've already used all the Raylan material, but maybe there's some other material there that, might lend itself to the conversation, and City Primeval it felt like a bit of a layup. It was so close to our kind of narrative. And I thought, maybe we could strip this for parts or use the bones of it, and it would start the conversation. And I ran it by Quentin on the set of Once Upon a Time, and he liked the idea. I mean, he's a huge Elmore Leonard fan. He was a huge fan of that book. He considered making that movie at one point in his career. So not only did he like the idea, he had ideas, So it was fantastic. So that just sent me back to everybody with a great deal of enthusiasm, which is, we're going to do this.
Well, let's listen to a clip from the new series. You are in Detroit in this series, kind of by chance, and you end up getting assigned to assist the Detroit police on a case involving the attempted murder of a judge. And this is a scene where you and some really gung-ho Detroit cops have identified a suspect, have stormed into his house, and he has fled to the basement and slammed the door, and his mom is standing by. And the Detroit cops are inclined to kick the door down and end this by force. And as we'll hear in the end of the scene, they kind of do that. But first, we hear you as Deputy Marshal Raylan Givens just try to talk to the suspect who's behind the door. Let's listen.
Okay, stay back. I'm not messing around.
Barry, what are you doing?
I just need to figure it out.
Hey, Barry?
Not coming down here.
No one's coming down there. All right, listen to me. You don't know me. I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens, and I can assure you no one's coming through this door.
Yeah, you're damn right they're not.
Don't need to talk tough. I'm just trying to help.
Jesus himself couldn't help him. My son's going to hell in a handbasket.
Shut up, Mom! What does that even mean?
It means you need to calm your ass down. Just talk to me, Barry. Come on, face to face.
Give me one good reason I should do anything you say.
Because up until now, no one has been hurt except a Cadillac CT6. But some of the agents and officers up here, Barry, especially the ones by the toaster oven, are a little hungry and a lot irritable. So if I was you, and I was sincerely interested in saving my ass, I'd open the door, talk this out, and end it while I'm still breathing. Come on, Barry, what do you say? Head to the SUV out front instead of the afterlife?
Okay. Okay, stand down. I'm gonna need a few things if you expect me to do.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Oh my God, you broke my nose!
Not sure that was entirely necessary, but okay.
Hey, that's how we do things in Detroit.
And that is our guest, Timothy Olyphant, in the new series Justified City, Primeval. Yeah, not sure that was entirely necessary. Marshal Raylan Givens always keeping his cool. In this series, you're dealing with a criminal, Clement Mansell, played by Boyd Holbrook, who is he's a truly malevolent character. But his lawyer is a woman that you end up dealing with in some interesting ways, and that probably complicates Raylan Givens' life and the story.
Raylan has a way of making things a little more difficult for himself. And then probably because that unconscious mind, he kind of wants to deal with those issues more than he wants to deal with others. I will say that lawyer is played by the incredible Ingenue Ellis, and getting her on board was just a huge win for us, for the story, and for the audience. And just a wonderful performance. And Boyd, same thing. The cast really just was incredible. I missed so many of the original cast. It was really missed them. On the other hand, we got really lucky with everybody that got involved in this one. And actors came in, and these new characters came in, and it was nothing like our show. No one we'd ever seen before, and yet every day we left the set, and you're like, it feels like our show. It feels like our show. We're in a different world. We got all these different characters, and yet, driving around with Victor Williams, he plays one of the detectives, the banter between us, I just thought, this just feels like, are we sure we didn't shoot this in the previous series? Because it feels like home,
Right.
It was cool.
Now, the Raylan in this series, as you mentioned, has a complication, which is that his 15-year-old daughter happens to be with him. He didn't plan it. They ended up in Detroit kind of by chance, and she is with him, and she is a curious and willful child, played by your own daughter, Vivian, right? How did this come about?
Yeah, how did that work out? It really was the best thing about the gig for me personally, was working with my daughter. It was just a joy. I didn't see it coming, us working together, and this is how it went. I knew acting was in the picture. She had always wanted to act. You know, when our kids were little, she's the youngest of 3, and we used to take family videos. She was the only one who asked to see playback, so we kind of saw this coming. And she was in college. She's a singer-songwriter. She was at the Berklee College of Music, and we were shooting this over the summer. We were talking about what her plans were going to be for the summer, and my wife said, "Isn't there a part in your show for your daughter?" And I said, "Isn't she supposed to be, around Vivian's age?" And I said, "What do you think?" She said, "Bring it up to her, and if she wants to audition, let her have a swing at it." So rest is history. She did great.
Yeah. It didn't create any discomfort on the set for you. And there's one case where she is visibly menaced by this, this sociopathic dude who is your arch enemy here, and that's pretty emotional. Was any of that difficult for you or her or the crew because you have this relationship?
Dave, I'm not gonna lie. There was so much going on. I think it was, by and large, just a wonderful experience, not only for us, but for the crew. I think it was a lovely atmosphere. And having young people on the set, in this case, my daughter, who's never really done this, everything was a thrill. I mean, she would be like, "Dad, I'm getting picked up in a van tomorrow with the other actors." And I'd be like, "Yeah, so what?" And she's like, "No, it's so exciting." Everything was so exciting, Call sheet was exciting. Fittings were exciting. EPK, the electric press kit interviews. She couldn't wait. I was like, I felt bad. I'm always trying to get out of those. So that was really refreshing. And, quite frankly, I was really proud of her. She worked really hard. It was fun to watch how hard she worked and how fun she was having doing the work. And then there was the loaded part, which is, I'm executive producer. I have a lot invested in this thing. I'm guilty of giving actors notes. There is one actor on the set who will actually say to my face she doesn't want to hear it. It makes me think maybe the other actors want to say that. Your kid will tell you what other people won't.
Really?
It's really.
She didn't like the direction she was getting?
Huh. There's just times she's my daughter. She's like, "Dad, no, stop it." And I'm like, "Wait, you can't tell me that. I'm the star of the show." It's really a wild experience. And as fun as acting is, and at this point in my life, it's kind of fun and games for me. There's a great deal of pressure on a set. Clock's ticking. You need to get this. We need to get this moment. And seeing your teenage kid in that situation, you feel as a parent, you just want to kind of, there's this instinct to step in and try to help.
And manage it, yeah.
To manage it. So, and at the same time, you're like, but we do need this take. So, step up, girl, let's go. There's a lot going on. It was very special. It was really a special experience. And, I hope I get another opportunity.
We're speaking with actor Timothy Olyphant. He plays Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in the FX series Justified City Primeval. It premieres tonight and airs on FX Tuesday nights. We'll continue our conversation in just a moment. This is Fresh Air. This is Fresh Air, and we're speaking with actor Timothy Olyphant. He stars in the FX series Justified City Primeval, which premieres tonight and airs Tuesday nights on FX. I will note that we recorded our interview before the actors' strike began. I think a lot of people really became aware of you with Deadwood, which was 2004, which is really kind of an amazing piece of television, critically acclaimed and well remembered, And this was, I guess you were in your mid-30s, and it's, I went back and watched some episodes recently. You were the first name that appears on the screen. It's right there, Timothy Olyphant, and a lot of great actors in that. And it was a really unique set, right? I mean, David Milch did this, and he actually built this mining camp. It's kind of a town, but he called it a camp. And he would change things in the middle of the day, right, or in the middle of the week, and then give you lines for the next day. I mean, was this a difficult, stressful acting experience?
Yeah, everything involved. It was one of the most incredible acting experiences, and still one of the most memorable sets I've ever been a part of. And working with David Milch is like a gift that just keeps on giving. He was a force of nature. He was brilliant. It was madness. For me, it was definitely pressure-filled early on. And I was surrounded by incredible talent, most of them probably around my age now. And they were just a marvel to watch. It was an incredible set.
Yeah, and you're getting, pages that you have to learn for the next day. And the language is not typical, right?
Dave, we were getting pages that we had to learn by lunch.
Okay.
We, we can shoot this other scene while you learn that. No, he was writing everything. It was an unbelievable to watch him go.
Yeah, and the dialogue was in this archaic sort of Victorian language, which, I would assume would not be so easy to memorize.
Oh, no, easy to memorize. when when the writing's good, easier to learn. When the writing's bad, that's when it's really tough. When the writing's bad, yeah, because you're like, what do I say again? Because you're like, it just doesn't connect to anything. This one was a mouthful, and it was in that regard. But whenever he handed you a page, it was so vivid and so delicious, challenging to. Just because there was a lot of work, but it was not difficult to, they stick in your brain. I can remember scenes, from that show like it was yesterday. They're so vivid.
I've read that, you felt like you were just sort of barely keeping your head above water on these shoots. There's so many veteran actors around who were at the top of their game. I don't know, anything you learned from them that you can put into words?
I remember going to the wrap party after the first season, and I realized I wasn't in the gag reel very much. And I thought, that's a problem. Everyone's having more fun. I need to have more fun with this gig. And that was a big revelation for me. I remember watching like Ian McShane and Brian Cox. It would be in intense scenes, but the two of them, as soon as cut was called, were giggles, And I thought, they seem to be carrying a little less weight on their shoulders than I am. There's this trick. I've been more or less making a living kind of playing character roles. And there's often a bit of a pitfall when you play a lead role that you feel like the burden of the responsibility of being the lead. And you can watch it with a lot of people's careers, going from character roles to leads, and whether their performances hold up. That you can see they're oftentimes more comfortable in the character role where they get to kind of chew the scenery, and then they bottle up a little bit when they become the lead. And, when you talk about like doing Justified, I think of it as a lead, in that respect. That's kind of what makes it really fun. I just think I'm playing, you can play those scenes as if you're playing a supporting part. You're playing a kind of a character role. Sometimes you can play some of those scenes like you're the bad guy,
And have fun with it.
It's just way more fun. And then you just trust that the writing takes care of it. And so I think the beginning of Deadwood, that's what I felt. And then David's a lot. David was a lot to... the set was a lot. It was overwhelming. And the pages the day before, and just trying to figure out your place, And also, it's the beginning of me trying to figure out how to be a squeaky wheel without being a problem.
A squeaky wheel on the set? You mean kind of just wanting to tweak a direction or a line?
The fact is, most of these things, especially in television, but in all of them, it's hard to navigate how to advocate for yourself and trust that you're not going to be difficult, that you're going to actually be helpful. And I think that was still, even at that point in my life, stressful for me. And I think when that show ended and I started getting my hands on bad material, I was like, okay, well, I've seen how it's done right. I've seen Milch. I've seen what it can be done. I've seen these kind of things. And so it was when I say it was a gift that kept giving, that's what I mean. I was able to go to sets and say, no, we could just rewrite this. And they're like, it shoots in 3 days. I was like, who gives a crap? I did this. We could shoot this. We rewrite it and shoot it at lunch on Deadwood. So, you know what I mean? This can get better.
A world of possibilities. Yeah.
It's a world of possibilities. The secret is that a lot of times, the more I started to advocate for myself, when you get your hands on parts that are pretty good but could be better, but when you start taking more responsibility and having more fun with it, I found just the opposite happened than what I was concerned about. I just had way more fun at work. I had way better relationships with the directors and the writers. But the conversation all started on the Deadwood set.
Since I'd read that you'd kind of felt like maybe you were struggling a little bit in that role, with the responsibility of that role, I went back and watched the first 3 episodes, which you're very proud of.
Turns out I was great, right? What the hell am I talking about?
Pretty darn good. I mean, I just say, you did not seem over your head. There was an intensity to it. Like this guy runs hot. You could see that. I could see you. Yeah, it was intense.
Look, part of the job is you're just constantly, I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make it simple and how to make it easy. And when it feels simple and easy, when all the work goes away, that's just a really great place to work from. And it's hard not to look at early work and not see the work.
Let me reintroduce you. We're going to take another break here. We're speaking with Timothy Olyphant. He plays Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in the new FX series Justified City Primeval. It airs Tuesdays on FX. We recorded our interview before the actors' strike began. We'll hear more after a break. I'm Dave Davies, and this is Fresh Air.
The Neubauer Family Foundation supports WHYY's Fresh Air and its commitment to sharing ideas and encouraging meaningful conversation. Support for NPR comes from this station and from Ooma, a cloud-based phone service for any size business with an automated virtual receptionist, video meetings, and other features to connect to customers and coworkers anywhere at ooma.com/NPR. And from the Rockefeller Foundation, making opportunity universal and sustainable for over 100 years.
This is Fresh Air. I'm Dave Davies. We're speaking with actor Timothy Olyphant, known for playing the iconic role of Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in the TV series Justified for 6 seasons. He now stars in a revival of that show, with Givens investigating a sociopathic killer in Detroit. It's called Justified City Primeval, and it premieres tonight on FX and will then air on Tuesday nights. When we left off, we were talking about another iconic role he played, Sheriff Seth Bullock on the HBO series Deadwood. I should note we recorded our interview before the actor strike. You know, in 2019, you kind of had a reunion because you returned to the character for the movie Deadwood, and it was also written by David Milch. And quite a story. I mean, there's intrigue and gunplay and score settling and romances. Was going to play a clip from the film. There was a beloved man in town, Charlie Utter, who has been shot to death, and it was a murder for hire engineered by this predatory businessman, Hearst, who wanted his land. And in the scene we're going to hear, you, as Sheriff Bullock, are talking to Al Swearingen, the brothel owner who's a morally ambiguous character, but who was at times in alliance with Bullock. And they're discussing what to do about this, murder. It begins with Swearingen, who's played by Ian McShane, questioning your decision moments before to publicly confront the man behind the murder in the street. So Swearingen speaks first. Let's listen.
You ever think, Bullock, of not going straight at a thing?
No. What's the move, Al?
Wish to I knew. Killing Charlie Utter changes the game.
Say the man has an eyewitness to bring to bear.
Name him.
Samuel Fields.
Was an eyewitness to what?
Eyewitness to them as did for Charlie Utter.
And thereby need a good murdering.
Sidestep in legal administration.
Well, if it ain't for Hearst to follow the law, why the should it be for you? Now, how should I construe that look on your mug, Bullock?
My job ain't to follow the law, Al. My job is to interpret it, then enforce it accordingly.
And that is our guest, Timothy Olyphant, in the movie Deadwood. What comes to mind when you hear that?
Well, I'll tell you two things, put a bunch of things, put a smile on my face. First of all, Ian McShane, what a force. I mean, just, it's the best thing that happened to my career was, being in a position to watch him work up close. Something special. I miss him. That movie, all the cast, everybody involved, when we all reassembled. And, I admittedly was dragging my feet, but when I got there, it was just very emotional and quite sweet. It was only 3 years of my life, that show, but boy, it made quite an impression, and it was just great to see everybody, and just an incredible group. It's a very special experience. Then, it sounded pretty good. I think I did all right. I think the other thing that is in that scene, which I want to give credit to, which is Charlie Almanza, the retired Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal Charlie Almanza, who was our technical advisor on Justified, and I leaned on him all the time. That scene, when I first got it, there was this statement there about following the law. And this time around, I because I'd now known Charlie, I called him and I said, he was available to me to pick his brain about things. And he said to me, no, your job is not to follow the law. I said, what are you talking about? He said, your job is to interpret the law how you see fit, given a situation. That's what we do. And I picked up, next day I was in front of David and saying, hear me out. Yeah. And that's where that came from. That was a back and forth between David and I, and then with Charlie, and then back to David and I. And that's that last line, Charlie Almanza, he more or less wrote that.
Yeah, especially on Marshall in, 1879 or whatever it was. So.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it was really great. And, that collaboration, it puts a smile on my face. When I had forgotten that, and when I heard that line, I was like, that was Charlie, That was... And that also was kind of reverting back to what we were talking about before, when I first showed up for that job, I was trying to do my best and say the lines that were in front of me. And when we came back around to do the movie, I think I was just in a different place to be open to, I'm going to call an actual U.S. Marshal and just talk to him and see what comes up. And these gems happen when you kind of invest in that way. And like it's that thing where you're like, it was a gift. It was not something that wasn't appreciated by David. It was something that was welcomed, and everybody wins. That collaboration puts a smile on my face.
Yeah. You'd mentioned that the scenes that you would get from Milch for Deadwood, some of you still remember them. Is there a scene from Deadwood where you literally remember the dialogue? You might want to share with us.
I remember so many lines, and I can quote a bunch of them that just start popping to mind, but you're going to have to bleep almost every one of them.
That's the trick with that show. Yeah, okay, well...
but you, by the way, I noticed you're like, Tim, try not to swear, and then every clip I'm in has swearing. What's the deal? You're holding me back.
Yeah.
I remember... I'll say I'll love... This is one I'm not even in. I remember the F the future, and... is it Tobolowsky says, "You do not F the future, sir. The future F's you." And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. I remember some of my own. I remember days. I remember doing that scene with Garrett Dillahunt where I call him a slant-eyed MF, and he says, "I was born this way." And then I say, "Who do you blame for the rest of the effing mess?" I mean, it's just beautiful stuff. And more importantly, I remember Milch's quote-unquote direction. You know, he didn't direct a single episode, but we did not shoot a scene without him approving what we were about to shoot, because his penchant for coming in and we'd be already well into coverage, and then he would start rewriting the scene, and we'd have to go back and start from the beginning. So we would always make sure we had him there before we started rolling, because he would invariably rewrite it before we started shooting. And in his rewriting, he was essentially directing. And so I have countless examples of incredible direction that he gave that has stuck with me forever.
Can you conjure one?
Telling Garrett Dillahunt when I was beating the shit out of him, and he was like acting as if he just wanted to get out of there. He told Garrett a story. Now, who knows if it was true or not? But he's like, let me tell you a story, Garrett. There was a time I was in an alleyway, and 3 guys are coming my way, and I said to myself, these guys have no idea what they're coming up upon, you know. And he goes, and now they're kicking me, and they're kind of roughing me up. And I'm thinking to myself, any minute now, I'm going to spring on them. And then he goes, now they've taken my wallet and my shoes, and they're walking away. And I'm thinking, here I come. I'm about to surprise them. And he's like, Garrett, that's the scene. You know, the whole time I'm beating him up, he's telling Garrett he's about to turn the tables on this guy. I mean, and these stories were so vivid, and I don't even know, quite frankly, thinking about it, if it was actually usable direction. But it was incredible storytelling, and it was incredible insight into his life and a way to think about drama. I just go on and on. I remember doing the scene where we're having a town meeting. We're talking about how we're going to start a government. And we started setting up the scene. Everybody's sitting at the table, and then Bullock and Hawks, John Hawks, we show up and sit down, and the meeting starts. And Milch comes in and says, no, that's not how these things worked. Nobody knows what they're doing, Nobody knows what to do. So everybody, he goes, remember at junior high you go to the dance, and you're standing against the wall. You got your hand up against the wall, because if you take your hand off the wall, this thing might fall over. This building might fall down. So you better be over here just making sure things stay upright. He would start directing everyone to do that. And then Bullock comes in, and he's been in government, so he's going to take a seat. And then everyone's like, oh, okay, we're going to sit down? Okay. And then And then he said everyone should be staring at everybody and trying to look at the person next to them and their body posture to figure out how they should sit at the table. Because no one knows how to sit at the table. You don't know how to start a government. You don't know how to sit at a game. Should we be serving peaches? Maybe we should have peaches. It was all just watching him take over and giving us this insight into not just performances, but into history and how humans work.
Since we've talked so much about David Milch, I guess we should know he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years ago, right? Do you in touch with him at all? Do you know what his condition is?
I haven't talked to him in a bit. I've seen some of his family, and I know some of the cast members have been in there, and I can just tell you I'm thinking of him. It's been a bit since I've spoken to him, but my heart goes out to him and his family, because I saw his son just a few weeks ago, and that's just as you know, it's just an ugly disease, just a very heartbreaking disease.
Let me reintroduce you. We're going to take another break here. We are speaking with actor Timothy Olyphant. He played Deputy Marshal Raylan Givens in the series Justified City Primeval. It appears on FX Tuesday nights. We'll continue our conversation in just a moment. This is Fresh Air. This is Fresh Air, and we're speaking with actor Timothy Olyphant. He stars in the FX series Justified City Primeval, which airs Tuesday nights on FX. I will note that we recorded our interview before the actors' strike began. It is fun to hear you be funny after these intense roles where you play lawmen. And I thought we'd listen to a clip from an appearance you made on Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Larry David vehicle. This episode is where Larry and some of the regulars in the show are flying to Cabo for a destination wedding. Your character, Mickey, is the groom, and everybody's staying in a really nice resort. And in this scene, Larry David shows up at your room kind of a little late at night, and he has spent the day noticing that everyone seems to have gotten a nicer room than he did. But he's coming to you because, due to some classic Larry plot twist, he had to come without his luggage, and so he doesn't have a toothbrush. And so he's knocking on your door to see if you can help. Let's listen.
Oh, okay, boss, Larry.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, not bad, huh?
This is unbelievable.
How's your room?
It stinks.
No.
Yes.
It was supposed to be great.
It's not great.
I said to you guys, the rooms are great. You're gonna love them.
Yeah, I know, but my room's not great at all. Everybody's got a better room.
I'm gonna talk to somebody.
So what, you just think this is some kind of accident that I have a bad room?
Oh, come on, Larry, come on.
Mickey?
Get like that.
What's going on?
Oh, hey, Sasha, congratulations.
It's late.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, it is late. Do you happen to have an extra toothbrush by any chance?
We do have an extra toothbrush.
You have an extra toothbrush. Fantastic. I can't believe it. That's so great.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's for us.
What do you mean? I have an emergency. It's an emergency. I don't have a toothbrush.
But that's your emergency. This is for in case we have an emergency.
You're not gonna have an emergency. What makes you think you're gonna have a toothbrush emergency?
Look at you. You're having an emergency right now.
Mine's a fluke. It's a fluke
This whole
emergency.
thing makes me nervous, Larry.
It's a fluke emergency. Toothbrush emergencies, it's 1 in a million.
You're probably right. I won't have a toothbrush emergency. And you know why I know that? Because I have a extra toothbrush.
Our guest, Timothy Olyphant, on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Tell us a little about the experience. I mean, is it ad-libbed? Is it all lines? What's the experience working on a scene like that?
So there's an outline. It's the best. There's an outline. You show up on that particular day. You show up. We're at this beautiful hotel and down on the beach, and we have a little quick huddle. Jeff Schaefer, who co-runs the show with Larry, was directing, and we huddled up, and he says, "Okay." They read what the scene is. Larry shows up. He's upset because everybody's room is better than his room. And then you say, "Why are you here?" And he says he needs a toothbrush. You tell him you have one, but he can't have it. All right, let's go. And then you start shooting. That's it. That's literally it. The next thing that happens is they pick up the cameras, and they've already marked it, and you just start shooting. And it's couldn't be more fun.
Did you do several takes?
Jeff will say, look, this first take might be 7-8 minutes long. Don't worry. And it might not be funny at all. Don't worry about it. We'll just do it again and just narrow it down, and, we'll just find it. And then usually every take you just find a little something, a little gem that they like, little accidents happen. We like when you say, isn't it great? Your room's not great. The more you can say the word great, we like that, So there's a lot of, isn't this great? That's great. Yours isn't great? No, they said they'd be great. And it's kind of the tone of the show, Somewhere, as I recall, somebody mentioned toothbrush emergency as if that was a thing. And then, we like that. Lean into the toothbrush emergency. And you just kind of discover it as you go. You shoot way more than you end up using, but it goes quick. And Larry's a very generous laugher, so it was and I am too. So we spent a lot of time with two people laughing, totally unusable.
That's what I was going to ask, if you broke up a lot. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm terrible. I'm the worst. I laugh at my own jokes. It's not proper behavior.
When we were talking, you were talking about, studying the craft of acting, and I think you said something about kind of the drama and comedy are kind of the same thing. They're somehow connected. I was just thinking because the role in Deadwood is so serious most of the time.
It's all a comedy, though. I mean, I know there's no difference. Justified, I think of it as a comedy. If I'm engaged with the writers in the back and forth, as far as I'm concerned, we're writing jokes. We're writing, the nature of drama is two guys walk into a bar, right? And then there's a rug pull. That's what Elmore is. That's what our show was. You're just looking for the rug pull. You're looking for taking it a direction you didn't see coming. You're looking for what is both totally unexpected but yet inevitable. And that's the nature of a joke. So, even in Deadwood, as we went along and, my shoulders started to drop below my ears, I'm always looking for, there's comedy there. David's writing's really funny. I mean, it's just tone after that. It's just finding a tone. That's what shifts. Anyway, that's what I'm selling. I don't know if you're buying it. That's my I'm sticking to that. There's no difference between drama and comedy. It's all the same thing.
Let me reintroduce you. We are speaking with Timothy Olyphant. He plays Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in a revival of the series Justified. It's titled Justified City Primeval. We'll talk more after this break. This is Fresh Air. This is Fresh Air, and we're speaking with actor Timothy Olyphant. He plays Deputy U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens in the revival of the series Justified. It's titled Justified City Primeval. We recorded our interview before the actor strike began. I want to talk about one more role of yours, and this was as a road manager for a rock band in the series Daisy Jones and the Six. It's on Amazon Prime. It's about a band that hits it big and then breaks up due to drama among its members. And you're a veteran road manager. And this is a scene where you're describing your job on tour with this rock band. And we're going to hear you talking to a mechanic because the band's bus has broken down and you need him to get the part right away. And he says he can't. And you essentially bribe him with concert tickets for his kids. But the scene begins with you describing the job of a road manager on a rock tour to an interviewer. Let's listen.
Let me tell you what it's like to manage a rock band. We're driving all over hell and creation. City to city, roadies and crew, the whole nine. And not one person, not one, ever asks how we're always stocked up on gas or beer or the special tea days he likes that you can only get shipped in from Thailand. No one says thank you. No one notices a damn thing until something goes wrong. I know. You said you won't have that part till the morning. But let me ask you something. You like rock and roll?
Can't say I do, partner.
I bet your kids love it. Now you get me that crankshaft in the next half an hour. You could be father of the year.
And he hands him 2 tickets to the big concert. That's our guest, Timothy Olyphant as the manager of a rock band in the series Daisy Jones and the Six. You're wearing kind of a Mick Jagger haircut, I guess I'd say, shades and a heavy mustache.
You know what? Nice observation, because I think I showed up with a picture of Mick Jagger, and I said, this is what we're looking for right here. We want this. This is what we're going for.
Yeah.
And the glasses. I said, listen, I would like to wear glasses in every scene, and if you don't want them on my eyes, I just want them in my hair. I just want them propped up on the top of my head. And I said, if you agree to that, I'm in. Sometimes with some of these jobs, you let the hair and the wardrobe do all the work, It just takes care of it for you. It just takes care of everything for you. You just act accordingly. It's like putting on the Batman outfit. You're like, okay, there you go. You don't have to do much.
Well, the other thing about this is that it's set in the 70s, and everybody is smoking all the time. I think in that scene, you're actually taking a puff while you're offering the guy the concert tickets. I was just wondering, on the seat, did people choke up with all that smoke in the air?
It was a lot. And I'm guilty of, this is my acting tip for the young actors out there. If you can eat during a scene, be chewing something or smoking, it makes you seem like you're a way better actor than you are, because it just grounds everything, gives you something to do. So I would not, every time we were about to roll, I'd tell the prop guy, cigarette, give me a cigarette. I'm going to work this cigarette as much as I work. Every scene, I don't know if you can find a scene in that show where I don't have a cigarette. But that's not because I thought the character smoked all the time. I was like, oh, this is just me more better for my acting.
You've achieved some real stature in your career by now. I wonder how often you're recognized in public, and whether you ever wear a cowboy hat in public.
I'm not adverse to wearing hats. I throw a hat on quite often. Not often a cowboy hat. It depends. When in Rome, but generally there's a hat on my head. How much am I recognized? I don't know. I don't know what's normal. My life is relatively boring, where I just go to the same places all the time, and so I don't think anyone thinks of me as a celebrity. If I'm at an airport, or if I got lost and found myself in a mall, I guess it changes the narrative. But I've been really lucky.
You're able to live your life.
I'm getting away with it. I've gotten away with it for a long time. And I think also, and it's a testament to the roles I've been allowed to play, which I'm convinced that if you play like a character that seems kind of cool, then people try to be cool around you. So I get what is the best thing you can get in show business. I often get someone who comes by and just says, hey, man, like your work, and then keeps walking. And I always, if my wife is next to me, I say, honey, that's as good as it gets. It didn't ask me for an ounce of time or anything, just wanted to pass that along, and that just means the world. I just want you to know that's the coolest thing you can do.
Well, Timothy Olyphant, thanks so much for speaking with us.
It was a pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Timothy Olyphant, star of the new FX series Justified City Primeval, premiering tonight and airing Tuesday nights on FX. Fresh Air's executive producer is Danny Miller. Our technical director and engineer is Audrey Bentham, with additional engineering support from Tina Calicay. Our interviews and reviews are produced and edited by Amy Sallet, Phyllis Myers, Sam Brigger, Lauren Krenzel, Heidi Saman, Anne-Marie Baldonado, Teresa Madden, Thea Challoner, Seth Kelly, and Susan Yakundi. Our digital media producer is Molly C.V. Roberta Shorrock directs the show. For Terry Gross and Tanya Mosley, I'm Dave Davies.
Another morning, another motel bed.